Today, we're talking about a video game. Not for its graphics, not for its mechanics, not even for its fandom, but for what it accidentally revealed about us. A recent study looked at how players behaved inside an online survival game when researchers fed them fake in-game news of an impending world-ending event. No guidance, no instructions, just a digital equivalent of "the end is coming, good luck." And what unfolded inside that virtual world is fascinating. Players had the freedom to do anything. They could help others, hoard supplies, build shelters, start fights, form alliances, or ignore the warning entirely. And in those chaotic hours, the game transformed into a kind of psychological petri dish, a place where thousands of people unknowingly offered a preview of how humanity might respond if the unthinkable ever became real. So what does this digital experiment tell us about who we are? Are we more cooperative than we think, or more selfish than we fear? And what happens when a virtual apocalypse becomes a mirror held up to human nature? This episode is not just the story of a video game that accidentally showed us how we might face the end of the world. It causes us all to reflect on the deeper question of not just what would the world do, but what would you do?
Welcome to the Retrospect podcast, a show where people come together from different walks of life and discuss a topic from their generation's perspective. My name is Ian, and as always, I'm joined by Stoney.
Hello.
And Jason.
Hello, everyone.
How's it going?
Well, Ian,
okay,
I'm happy.
Oh, yeah, you are?
You had a chocolate chip cookie waiting for us when we got here, and I just finished it, and it tastes so good.
I'm glad. I'm glad you enjoyed it.
Especially with a great cup of coffee.
Yeah. I got prepared for this. We're heading into the holiday season, and I talked about dusting off my famous cookie recipe, and I know I mentioned it, and of course, obviously, seeing these two guys every week, I've talked about it the past couple weeks, and so a couple days ago, I finally did it, and it turned out, as there's like a halfway point throughout the recipe where like I can tell it's going to be kind of like in a good or a bad direction, and I got to that point, and I was like, ooh, I think I still got it. It feels good, and it did. It turned out really good. And then, of course, I also bought some nice new coffee as well, so I'm getting ready. I'm getting ready for this season where I'm going to be making a bunch of coffee for people and pastries and feasts galore, so, you know.
Well, I appreciate it because I was, I know Stoney and I have been talking about these chocolate chip cookies, and
I'll definitely, again, this was just the trial run to see if I still could do it. And of course, I promised out of the whole batch, I reserved, a set amount for everyone. So one for each of you, and one for my mom, and one for my boss. So, so I had my list.
Well,
so
I have a question. How many did Maya get?
Oh, do you really want to know?
Because me and Jason got one, and we've known you for 4 years.
Yeah, you're right.
And I've known you since you were this high.
Yes, you're right. But in her defense,
I just want to know how I rate.
No, I wouldn't say that. I'm gonna say it's a both and kind of thing. She's been around here multiple days out of this week, so I think she's probably had 2 or 3. But that's not like a privilege thing.
Sounds like it.
No. I mean, maybe. I do. I do like her.
You gotta take care of your lady. I get that.
Well, so, of course, whenever she looks at you and says like, "Can I have another one?" I'm like, how am I gonna say no? You're like, yes, of course, you can have another one. That's okay.
She looks at you.
If you were here,
she looks at you with those eyes, and you're like, "Yeah, all right." Let me give.
You can put it in the microwave, warm it up just a little bit. And make it. Yeah, exactly. You know how it goes.
Well, we understand.
And I'm saying, I said this about how it was my first go around, and I reserved them for each, because again, once the word got out, everyone's gonna be knocking down my door, But now I went ahead and I'm going to try my hand at making it a second time now. And of course, I'll start like reserving like batches for people.
Okay, everybody, I have just hidden my cookie in my bag. Hey, Ian, can I have another cookie, please?
I think those are the last two.
What the hell?
I'm sorry. I was reserved those for you.
Hell?
Got to make some more.
This was the last stop. I gave everyone else out, and I said there was 2 left, and I was like, Maya,
For Christmas time.
I know. Well, I'm saying for this batch. I was like, for this
I'd
batch,
like a shoebox full of
okay,
them.
well, we'll work that out. Yeah, for this go around, I was like, okay, and then the last stop throughout the next couple of days, I was like, is Stoney and Jason? Those are the last 2 left. Everyone
I'm glad we're thought of.
You did. I did. I reserved them, had them in the bag and everything, and I was like, no, don't touch the ones in the bags. Those are the ones to reserve. So,
Well, I can't wait to meet her. Really,
Yes.
it would be nice. Who knows? Maybe she can come onto the show.
yeah,
Maybe give her perspective on certain things.
yeah.
When we have it, when we have episodes that she might be interested in
I agree.
contributing.
That
But
sounds we got a fun one today, or I say
yeah,
fun, interesting one.
I came across this. Actually, it was another podcast I was listening to. They brought it up, and I saw an article that popped up on my news feed about a video game study.
Mm-hmm.
But I had brought that up over the last couple of years about the one that they did with the gamers and the 747. So when you brought this up,
Yeah,
and then I found out there were some other studies done too like that.
yeah.
Yeah,
So
it's
it's fascinating stuff.
It's interesting. I mean, it's how would you react if all of a sudden the inevitable happened? I mean, we kind of talk about it and we kind of tongue in cheek it,
Right.
and what would you do?
I've always I've made the comment a lot of times in our neck of the woods, being in the Gulf, obviously, like we have pretty crazy hurricanes and crazy storms and things like that. Is it? I've said this throughout my years and my having gone through a handful of pretty gnarly hurricanes myself. I've said this numerous times that I feel like natural disaster, or specifically hurricanes for us, like it really brings out the best and the worst in people. You really start to see that whenever the status quo gets shaken up and things get turned over, like sometimes the worst of the people comes out and they start looting or they start hurting people or like whatever happens. And of course there's this other side where like you have communities and churches and other groups that come together and like really help like rebuild a community. And it's just that stuff happens like on an everyday basis, but it's just when catastrophe strikes, you just notice the two ends of the spectrum, I feel like, becomes so much more.
Well, this was a little bit different because there
right.
was no saving grace at the end.
Yes,
Everything was going to die. Everybody was going to die.
Yeah.
What do you do with the last few minutes you have in your life?
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't hey, we can build this back. We got full 4 people repopulate the earth. This was end of the world.
Yeah.
So that kind of changes those little things just a hair.
Right.
But you're right about
Yeah.
the big catastrophe stuff. But this one was these people were playing a game and they were being fed information while playing that game of the end of the world.
Yeah.
So what did they do while the end of the world was happening?
Right.
So
Yeah, I was looking at this. It's a lot of information on this. Actually, the study was conducted by a university at Buffalo, a led team of computer scientists. They were going to then actually, of course, the article is in the past, so it's they presented at the International World Wide Web Conference in Australia. I believe this study happened in 2017. Was it 17?
17. Yep.
But the name of the game was ArcheAge.
Okay.
There were 81,174 players over 11 weeks from December the 8th, 2011 to February 20th, 2012. And for the data people, there are 270 million records of player behavior
Wow.
during that time. Things that people did, said, how they did it, why they did it. And it was interesting.
Yeah. That's crazy.
But I think what some of the
I think it's interesting, like the analogy of, even if I knew the world would go to pieces tomorrow, would I still plant my apple tree?
That's interesting.
That's interesting.
I did it from a psychoanalyst style.
Oh, yeah.
And I think that's kind of a big question. I'd love for our leaders, our listeners, sorry about that, to write in and let us know, if you knew the world was coming to an end, what would you do? Would you still plant your apple tree?
Yeah, that would be interesting. I think if people really gave that a serious thought, how would they spend their time?
Yeah.
And of course, in this study, which I think raised eyebrows, was, because the typical line is that, you would descend into barbarism, and
Right.
people would go and loot, and
there would be a lot of people that did that,
and they did, and there was a small percentage. I think I'm looking at the I was looking at some of the of what they found, and it appeared that there was a small percentage of like murder in the game went up. But it was a small group that did that. The vast majority of people ended up banding together and trying to help each other out, which, maybe gave some insight into people if they were confronted with the inevitable.
Yeah.
Would they? Would people would just band together and try to comfort each other?
Yeah.
But a couple of things happen if you play games. There's a couple of facets that are very interesting in a game: leveling, skill building, and questing.
Yeah.
And when this happened, questing dropped sharply. People stopped doing quests. Leveling almost completely ended. Nobody cared about leveling anymore. And skill building plummeted. So what became important in the game?
Yeah.
And those are some of the things, so what would happen if that was a real life situation? College career, self-improvement, saving money, all go out the window, I guess, is if you could take that together from what happened in the game. And people shift from building their life to living what's left. And they showed that in this study, in this game, that they did work on some things. Messaging improved.
Right.
Working together improved. But some of those other things in the game just didn't.
I think that kind of goes back to your question earlier, is like, would you still plant the tree? I guess that's kind of the answer right there, is probably no. The people working towards, longevity type things is probably not going to happen, or like you're saying, these things are like preparing yourself for the quote end game, or the to get to the next best thing. It's like that's not going to matter anymore because it's all over.
Right. But one of the things with all of the information that they had, the people that were already disengaged or planning to leave the game early, are the people who became more violent, player killing, griefing, and sabotage.
Oh yeah, because they had got nothing to lose at that point.
But the people who wanted to stay till the end became more social, cooperative, and calm.
Wow.
And I thought that was kind of interesting. The people that were quitting already just didn't care.
No.
They just didn't care.
Yeah.
And I think that's very interesting. Isolated people turn destructive and connected people cooperate. Isn't that kind of like human nature now?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Look at the amount of people who just isolate themselves and just the destruction that they create in that isolation.
That's so true. Oh, man. It's crazy when you get to like see, like read up on stuff like that, or something that's so maybe not as or not as life-threatening as like a video game, but you're able to so easily correlate it with real life is interesting and also scary, I feel like.
Yes.
In a lot of ways.
In a way, yeah. As the end approached, players sent, as I said before, they sent out more in-game mail, talked more in chat, formed more small groups, and traded items more freely to help others complete bucket list tasks in the game.
That's fun.
Yeah.
That's
and I'm
really
like,
fun. Yeah.
wow.
Well, it gives me hope that I think that maybe we're more noble than what we give ourselves credit for.
Yeah.
That we're not all just animals out to just, look out for me or whatever.
maybe hyper wealthy, super elite would be.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying.
Well,
if they've already got it all, it's like,
I would
kill
think
them.
they would do their best to, try to, preserve whatever
Of course.
they have. And then, of course, you're always going to look at what does end of the world mean?
Well, the deepest human survival mechanism is the tribe.
Yep.
It truly, really is. I mean, we want to work with people knowing that there's bad people out there.
Right.
But what could this bring to a real apocalypse? Families reunite, possibly former enemies reconcile, and groups form a little bit faster, and maybe, at first, people actually act a little nicer to each other.
Mm.
And they got all of this from the study, and then you kind of have to connect it to real life and what's outside of that. Wow. Because without consequences, people become their true selves.
True.
And that's what if you know that world is ending in 30 days, there are no consequence. What you going to do? Put me in jail?
Right. You going to ban me?
Yeah. In 15 years, I'm going to be on death row and you're going to execute me? Yeah, no.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? So there are no real consequences when the only consequences is getting caught what you're doing and getting bitch slapped in the next week because there ain't going to be no next week. So you only be flying for like 3 days maybe.
Right.
But that's the real only consequence. So what do people do? How do you spend that? What was the movie? And here comes the brain damage again. What was the movie with the big wave coming and the
Deep
old
Impact?
couple? I don't remember.
Deep Impact?
Where the old couple were just sitting there on the beach and they stood there.
That was Deep Impact.
Looking at each other.
That was a daughter and it was a father and her grown daughter. She was a news reporter.
I thought there was another one where it was an old couple. There was an old couple that just stood there and waited for the wave to come. And I will go, that would be Miranda and I.
You talking about that would have been, the old couple. I'm trying to remember because I know Deep Impact was a real good kind of
that was a great movie.
Great movie with showing the scale of a wave that would be generated with that kind of movie. I'm trying to think. What was the other one? Was it Greenland?
I don't remember.
I don't remember an old. I think I know. That may have been that movie with Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, San Andreas.
No, I don't think that was it.
Because that was dealing with a massive deal where giant tsunami swept into San Francisco, and I believe there was a scene with 2 older people that kind of got wiped out when the wave hit.
I see something about Make Way for Tomorrow. I'm not sure, I just Googled a bunch of random words to. I don't know.
Well, I think I think it's interesting that of course now
2012.
Yeah. Okay. 2012.
2000. Yes.
12.
2012.
Yeah.
2012. Yep.
That was a good movie too.
That was a great movie actually because it showed you what we're capable of. Good and bad.
Yeah. Yeah. People start.
And who's really behind it. That ultra 1% is going to be the people in the arcs.
Yeah, that's right. Hell, they always will. I mean, that's just the nature of the beast. I mean, it's, we're expendable cannon fodder. I mean, it's just how it is.
Yeah.
And if you were lucky enough to be in the 1% that controls the vast majority of wealth on the planet, well, you probably would be different too. Not to say that they're bad. I'm just saying when you have that amount of resources available to you, it's only natural to want to try to preserve what you can. Yeah. As I said, once again, it would depend on the nature of what is the end of the world. I mean, if the planet itself is going to be completely, blown to smithereens, and that's a whole different ball game. But if it's something, like an extinction level event asteroid struck the planet, and the planet would be fine. I mean, it would take a hit and it would do global consequences, but that might be different. But, I mean, we all read about how Oprah and all them were buying land in Hawaii or Jamaica or whatever the case may be. And
well, they were buying it in Hawaii because they were going to build that 15-minute city in Maui, and that's because Hawaii is so far away from America and anywhere else. When the crap hits the fan, they wouldn't going to have to deal with none of this, and they'd have their slaves there to do the work, and the 1% there would be living large.
Stoney, you mentioned about the apple tree. Was that the name of the study for the deal?
No, that was just a question that came up on the psychoanalysis part of it, of what would you do if the end of the world was coming?
Because I'm looking here on some information I pulled. It was the paper, the actual study. It was called "I Would Not Plant an Apple Tree If the World Would Be Wiped."
Wow. Okay.
So,
well, everybody's thinking alike then.
Yeah, it says it analyzed hundreds of millions of behavioral records of players during an MMORPG beta test, which is what that whole thing was. So, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, they said, data suggests that, people do lean into social relationships. And I would believe that.
Yeah.
I think people do. I think at the end, you're going to gravitate to your families, the people you love the most. And you're going to, what was that movie, which I think really kind of drives point home, much, of this point, was Knowing with Nicolas Cage.
Yeah.
Remember, he was estranged from his father and his family, and at the very end, when the world is fixing to get torched, where is he at? He returns home to his family,
right?
And that's a good movie. That may be one of those movies y'all can do a little.
What is it called again?
Knowing.
Okay.
Really good. It's kind of eerie.
Nice.
I mean, it really is. I mean, it kind of was kind of like when I remember I first watched it, I was like, man, this movie's weird.
We just recently watched Labyrinth.
Oh, God. That's back in the 80s.
Yeah, we did. Watched a classic.
David Bowie.
Yeah.
Yes, I remember that one.
Maya really loves that movie, and she was like, if you're going to watch it for the podcast, I want to be there. And I was like, okay, we'll do it. And
That's good.
That was a wild movie. Talk about
wow. So she nominates a movie and they watch it, and we've been nominating them for
All
3
kind of
years.
movies,
And he hadn't watched the first one.
She also joined us for the episode, so she was like a.
Oh, she even got an invite to join. We've never got an invite to join.
That's not true. That's not true. For the record.
Wow.
Stop.
Man, tossed to the side.
Definitely not.
Well, you know how it goes.
I carve out this time for you every week.
No, you actually carve it out for our listeners.
No, I don't. That's okay.
Man.
Sorry. I guess I'll make more time for you on the other podcast as well if you guys want.
Well,
but yeah,
I think that would be probably an interesting deal to do a.
I think there's some great movies we could do
a cross, to do a little deal where we can do our take on a movie that we all watch together and do it. So
there's some great movies I think that this podcast and specifically these listeners here I think would really appreciate that. But yeah,
everybody's different.
I'm trying to convince my friends to go see the new Frankenstein movie, the one that, by Guillermo del Toro.
Really?
Yeah, supposedly it's really good. I haven't heard anything. I haven't really heard anything about it, but it's obviously
what I want to watch. If they feel I don't have is HBO Max is the new It.
Okay.
Stephen King's
yeah.
Welcome to Derry.
Yeah,
I can do without Stephen King.
The origin of Pennywise.
Right.
So it's pretty good. So if you're all into Stephen King stuff, and I've read a lot of back in high school, read a lot of Stephen King stuff. Of course, you saw The Shining and, and all that stuff. But it's interesting in this series, the character of Dick Halloran.
Yeah.
is it shows his beginnings. Of course, you would recognize he would be the eventual chef at the Overlook Hotel.
Yeah.
that was shining. So it kind of shows where he started
Mm-hmm.
around Derry and It.
That's interesting.
And so it's all of Stephen King's universe are all connected,
That's fun.
between the Dark Tower and all that is kind of like spoken hub, so to speak.
That's
so,
fun. I
Well,
love that.
they say that, but they also say, and I saw this, I was reading an article, that the Matrix and the Terminator are all different times, same story.
Wow. That's cool and scary to think about.
So
Yeah.
look that up whenever you get
yeah.
some chance. I don't know if
I
if somebody's stretching, but it's kind of an interesting thought process when
Yeah.
you kind of put those two together and how they work. It's all about the machines. It's all about this. It's all about that. What if the Terminator was just another Matrix or something?
I think we're closer to Skynet than what
Oh,
people,
we absolutely are closer to Skynet.
than people would like to think.
If somebody had any balls and any gumption to really want to make a dollar, they should have named it Skynet instead of ChatGPT.
There's
Think
still,
about that. It's kind of like the
yeah.
Aldi's missed the thing on the nuts, the Aldi's nuts.
Yeah, you're right.
I think somebody missed that boat too. Kind of like, the old, what was that old Russian car, the Yugo?
Yeah.
Remember that?
Yeah.
They missed out. Doritos beat them. Okay? They completely beat them because the Yugo needed the ad, crunch all you want, we'll make more.
Yeah.
That should have been for that car.
Okay, nice.
So, but it's like somebody could have had a lot of fun with that.
Missed opportunities.
Yes, missed opportunities.
Speaking of like other shows and other things like that, I know that they're about to, I think, finish up, or I'm not sure if they're finished up or not, with like the season 2 of Fallout.
That's coming up.
Talking about in the same wheelhouse as this, like all the same kind of stuff. Like talk about a game that does such a great job.
I wonder if the game didn't use this study because you have the raiders,
Yep.
which are the violent people.
Yeah.
You have the settlers and a couple other people that kind of wanted to work together. I wonder if they didn't base that game off of that study.
And I'll tell you what, I'm surprised. I'm sure they're.
Fallout's been around for a long time,
Yeah.
and I love the medium because like that game specifically has done such a good job at the conversations of like how people act during catastrophe and how like civilization can thrive even after maybe not like an actual end of the world like quote unquote scenario, but something like an apocalyptic scenario like that, and how interesting how life can still persist on even through. Even if it is like fantastical and not accurate, it's still. I love the concept though.
It's truly, I'm a bit in awe of how this game has had such an impact.
Oh yeah,
on the public at large. I mean, it for something that's kind of niche.
Yeah.
Within a certain element of the population, for it to do what it did
and develop a TV show. But
Yeah.
one of the things about it is there's very few really young people playing it. It's mostly older people. I've met, there's a lady on there that's 77 years old.
Oh, my goodness.
I've met other people that are 60s, 70s, 50s, 40s. Very rarely have I heard a little kid.
Yeah,
It's mostly older people, 30, 35 and up, that play that game because they're getting lost in something that they can kind of see happening now.
I saw some information. They said people that actually do play video games stave off dementia.
Yes.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Yes.
believe it or not, that's the reason you're seeing older people play video games, because it stimulates the brain.
And it drives Miranda crazy. But the psycho lady, the neuropsych lady, when we were talking about that, Jason says, why don't you come play this game? And I says, well, I brought it to her. She said, that would be great. Learn a new game. Learn something. As long as you're pushing your brain to do something, it'll stave off that dementia.
Yeah, I've read that. I'm like, well, it looks like...
And these studies aren't new.
Right.
Back in the 80s, They did a carrier landing flight simulator and then compared it to how they did performance on Atari combat flight games.
Yeah.
Okay, and what they found out that folks that were good at gaming were also good at landing the simulator. Later studies and military research found similar effects. Gamers often make better drone operators and adopt faster to cockpit-like tasks than non-gamers.
Mm-hmm.
And then they did the one with the 747.
Yeah.
And this was a little bit later than this. This was when, what was it, the Microsoft flight simulator.
Yeah.
It was out for quite a few years.
I've played the most modern iteration of that, and I was having a conversation with someone who has had no experience in aviation, myself, who's done like flight simulator training, but I don't think I'm really good at all. And then the instructor in question, we're all three talking over some lunch, just kind of, chit-chatting and powwowing and stuff. And I made a joke, or I was like, I've never been behind a physical plane before. I've never actually flown a plane, but I was like, but I definitely have a number of takeoffs and landings in a Cessna in Flight Simulator. And of course, my buddy who has no experience made a joke like, oh yeah, your Flight Simulator training, whatever. And the instructor stopped him and he was like, no, I would trust him to be able to, I would try to move forward in teaching him than someone like yourself who has no experience at all.
Right.
And he was like, oh, I actually didn't know.
Well, one of the things that they found out, even like going from prop planes to jets, was something called task saturation.
Yeah.
And so these gamers who are watching all of this stuff go on at the same time are better acclimated to sitting down in that cockpit, seeing all of these buttons, all of these whistles, all of these bells, and being able to manage that in their head, where these pilots who were amazing in these prop planes, some of them, not all of them, it took them a minute or two to kind of get used to way more tasks at the same time.
Right.
Because if you're flying a jet, it's a little bit in front of you. If you're flying a helicopter, it's a mile in front of you, or whatever that ratio is. So you have to be able to not only see what's going on right in front of you, but what's happening proportionally in front of you too. And so they found out that these gamers, and that's why the military is hitting these young kids so hard in high school to come be these drone pilots.
Yeah.
That's going to be your next non-manned aircraft pilots. That's who's going to be doing this. And I think that's why they saw this, and that's why all these studies come out. Because and look at these amazing drone pilots out there, not just the military people, but just around the country that are doing some of this amazing drone work. That's gaming. That's all it is. You're playing a game with something kind of flying out there.
Yeah, that's crazy. It's fascinating. I definitely have I think, if I'm not mistaken, the new. I'm not sure it's going to come out anytime soon, but I know the new version of attack fighter jets, whatever, are going to have drone assistance.
I agree with that.
They're going to have
dropping out the bottom
companions.
And,
It's just so cool to think about that, how that would all pan out.
No, I agree. I completely agree with that.
Yeah.
I had some stuff here that I wanted to, while we kind of get, the video game, but, this whole topic, how people react to news of the end of the world. And I got some stuff here, just kind of a breakdown by generation. They say Gen Z has higher existential concern, more likely to believe in or emotionally engage with apocalypse-level risk, especially climate or AI, more emotional distress, fear and outrage, possibly more climate anxiety, some fatalism. A significant share thinks personal behavior change may not matter, might be more likely to perceive the end as plausible and feel personally affected. Millennials, also high existential concern, similar to Gen Z in many respects. Emotional engagement is strong. Worry plus guilt plus desire for action. Mixed pessimism
There you go.
about individual impact.
Yeah.
May respond with activism or lifestyle change, but also fear and anxiety. Gen X, moderate concern about risk, perhaps more tempered than younger gens on existential risk, less likely to feel total fatalism compared to younger gens, more likely to believe that action, personal or collective, can matter, potentially more pragmatic reaction. This is serious, but not necessarily inevitable or unmanageable. And then baby boomers, some end times beliefs are present, but not dramatically more than younger generations per PRR. And I don't know what PRR is. I guess that's a study. PRRI. Less likely to think personal behavior change is pointless. Risk concern, especially long-term global risk, may be lower or less emotionally salient. Reaction might lean more toward caution or dismissal, or a we've seen tough times before mindset, which makes sense. I mean, they've been here the longest. They've experienced more tragedies,
right,
and they've been through tougher times. So it's like, okay, this is just another one we gotta have to kind of get through. So,
well, right now, these last few generations believe they have trauma because somebody told them no.
yeah.
Okay,
Well,
the Gen X and the Boomers and the Great Generation have had real stuff happen to them. Okay, being told no is not trauma. So I can't wait to see some of these young people in the end of the world thing. You got to wonder, they're the disconnected ones.
Mm-hmm.
Look who's creating the violence right now.
Oh, yeah.
It's these young people who have not been told no, who don't understand what real trauma is.
Well, you know what they said right now? I was reading an article just regarding this, kind of on this topic, but say the most dangerous person in the world right now are overeducated, rich people, rich kids who have been excluded from the upper ranks.
Oh,
Those are the ones that push for revolution.
yeah.
It ain't the poor people.
Mm-mm.
It really isn't. But it's people that are, by definition, should be in the upper crust.
Well, they
but
want,
they're
hold
not.
on. The reason that there's a reason they want that, because they realize that the people that didn't let them participate are going to be the first ones to die, which will leave them as the pseudo-educated people that are going to have to lead the tomorrow stuff. And that's why they want that. That's why they're pushing that, because they're the pseudo-educated people, and they're not really the best educated. I can promise you right now, these Harvard and Yale educations are not what they used to be. It's full of indoctrination and full of delusion, where somebody at the community college is getting a better education than some of these elite colleges, because that's a delusion that they have. Again, we're into this weak man era of full of delusion. And that's why that is, because they know their parents and grandparents that wouldn't let them participate are going to be the first ones to go down. And they'll be the ones left running the companies and managing the monies and et cetera, et cetera.
You said something interesting earlier about like younger people not getting told no. And I was scrolling through the internet a couple of days ago and was like, I watched this kid who couldn't have been more than like 7 or 8, just like absolutely curse out his mom, and like was saying some like profane stuff. And I was like, there is no way in hell I would ever speak to my mother that way. Not only because she'd probably beat me with an inch of my life, but also the fact I was like, I had and have so much more respect for my mom that I would never do that. My mom, don't get me wrong, my mom has frustrated me, like just like I feel like anybody else's mom has. But at the end of the day, I was like,
if a parent doesn't frustrate you, guess what? They're not doing their job.
Right.
Hello, they're not your friend, they're your parent.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And
I think my mom is my friend now because of that.
Because of that.
Yeah. Exactly.
Absolutely agree with that.
Right.
Absolutely.
And it was just crazy to think about that, where I was like, that's going to be a grown man one day who's going to like grow up and like he's going to treat other
Women with
people
respect.
or women like that.
Yep.
And it's like, there's no way. Anyways, just I was
No,
thinking
it's
that
a
you
good
said
point.
That.
That's
It's
a
like,
great
man,
point, because you're right on the money. Right
Yeah,
on the
yeah.
money. Right
Crazy.
on the money.
Yeah, right now it seemed like the biggest concern about kind of end of the world stuff is climate change.
I'd say, yeah.
Okay, and see, that's just bullshit. Okay,
Well,
that's bullshit.
I agree with you, it is, but I'm just saying that it's
Yeah.
obviously it's present in a lot, which makes sense because for the last, 10, 15 so years, that's all you've been hearing.
Okay.
So that's what they've been hearing in
You've
school.
been hearing it since the 60s. This is part of the indoctrination and the fear-mongering that's going on. Okay, I had a list, and if I'd have known you to go in that direction, I have it. I have a list of all of the supposed climate change events that are going to happen over the last 50 years. This rising, this falling, and none of them have happened.
No, of course not.
None of them.
It's all BS.
Okay, it's all bullshit, a way to get your money so they can pump it through these NGOs and money launder it back to themselves. It's got nothing to do with the climate.
I get that, but I'm just saying, though, where it ranks in the minds of certain age groups.
I agree with that. I agree with
and
that.
that's because that's all they've been. That's all they've heard for the last their entire time in school.
That's the indoctrination I was just talking about. That is the delusional, not teaching these kids real stuff, but teaching them the indoctrination of what they need to believe to get them on their side. And that's like socialism. I heard the absolute best definition of socialism the other day.
Okay.
Here it is. I'm going to throw this at you and tell me if this doesn't sound like today in America. The best definition of socialism. You take $500 from one person and give $100 each to one person. You've lost one vote and gained 5 until you run out of money.
Yep.
And that's when you have revolt and riots.
Yep.
That's what socialism is today. And that's what these kids have been indoctrinated to believe, that little $100 that they took from somebody else, that's worth your vote. And you get us in power and we're going to take care of everything until you run out of somebody else's money. But climate change is one of those fears and tools that they use in their indoctrination of these young people. Well, we need to push money that way. We need to push money this way. Well, we're poor. We can't do it. Well, you just take it from the rich people. They got plenty. Just take it from the rich people. It'll be all right.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I just, I remember when I was young, the big thing, and Stoney, you probably remember this quite well.
Probably not, but we'll go for that. Sure.
was acid rain.
Yes.
Oh, I remember that.
Acid rain.
That was one on that list.
Acid rain. That's all you heard about on TV was acid rain. So, I mean, and all of a sudden that just disappeared off the radar and then eventually got replaced by something else. That's what I'm saying. There's always these agendas.
The
ozone.
The hole in the ozone.
Hole in the ozone. Yeah, I mean.
Or by now, there should be no ice in Arctic or Antarctica. That was all going to melt.
Correct.
And it was going to raise the seas 50 feet.
Well, that's unfortunately when education became became political. That's what's happened, and they just these universities, they get all this money and they've got to do something with it. So they basically produce what they get paid to.
Well, they get paid just like the Rockefellers gave the American Medical Association money to push their pharmaceutical petroleum drugs. They did that for the education system. If you want our money, you're going to push this. If you want our money, you're going to push that. And everybody follows suit because they want the money. It's going to take somebody to say, we don't want the money. We want to do what's best for the people of America. That's just not going to happen. It's not going to happen.
Maybe one day. But I think to circle back around towards the beginning of this conversation, I think it's going to take some sort of external force that's going to have to shift us in a direction where it shakes us out of that mentality. And makes
I think it could be an external force that's moved into America,
right,
with the immigration stuff that's going to force some of those issues.
Yep, I agree. It's
an external force. It may already be here.
Yeah,
because it's coming.
There's a big topic that I haven't had a chance to talk to you guys about, but maybe in the future, and it was about a lot of this stuff with ice and everything like that, especially over in North Carolina. There's like a whole bunch of stuff that's been going on as far as like the city's empty now because of like a lot of people not either going to work or going to school because they're all, potentially illegal immigrants and things like that. And it's just a crazy situation where it's like,
they shouldn't be here in the first place.
Right. But there's a certain group of people that are like, oh, look at their, where like look at the absence of all these people and like making it out to be like a woe this situation. And there's another side of the aisle that's being like, what do you mean? Yeah, look at all these people that are taking jobs from us and all that.
That shouldn't be here in the first place.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, I often wonder, kind of talking about our topic tonight, how would you, considering the political dynamics right now that are going on in the United States regarding illegal immigration and all the issues of trying to address that and everything the Trump administration's doing right now, and it's provoking this and it's provoking that. I saw those lawsuits being filed, and every news media is putting out there about their word about the church not being full or whatever. To not, I often wonder if it's the end of the world, would any of that matter? News of the end of the world. Okay, there's a giant asteroid that's going to be striking the earth. Would it matter? Would immigration even rise to the occasion at that point? It probably wouldn't.
It probably wouldn't, but that doesn't mean we have to be stupid until that time either.
I agree totally.
Okay, so even asking that question, we need to clarify, it probably won't matter, but okay.
Right, we
still need to be smart.
That's the end of the world. I think the point what I'm trying to make, it basically, I think, taps back into what the study showed was, even with all the issues going on with that, if that scenario manifested itself, guess what? People looks like are probably going to band together.
Sure.
Yeah.
That's just how it, that's just human nature and how that works. And then when we kind of get to a more stable environment, then, we got rules and we got laws and we got how society gets structured and we organize ourselves. But
but that changes the people that want to suck off the system are going to get left behind or shot by their own group. Because if you can't do anything, we're not going to feed you. If you can't do something to help the group out, you're just a meal that somebody else that needs it could have. So that whole society of, handouts and people not doing something because my feelings are hurt today, that's not going to work in that situation. And those people are going to get left behind. Because those groups are going to work and you're going to have to bring something to the table. And then it becomes the immigration thing into the small groups. If you want in this group, you have to prove to us that you can benefit us somehow.
Yeah.
So it becomes micro immigration then.
Yeah. Well,
there'll still be immigration problems. It just won't be nationwide. It'll be a little bitty group wide.
Yeah. Well, it's like you said about the whole tribe situation.
Right.
Tribes are, I feel like I don't actually know the proper definition of it, but I feel like it's small, intimate communities of people. That is what a tribe is in my mind of like.
Right.
So, like you said, instead of being nationwide, it's like I got to protect my close people, my friends, family, my tribe, those within arm's length of me. And if you're gonna try and come in here, like we gotta, there's a process.
Yeah, I agree. So
I'm not gonna let you take
those things will still be there. They will just be on a different scale.
Yeah.
Did y'all? This is something I saw. Well, my computer is acting weird right now.
Isn't it always great when it's right when you need it?
There has been people that have predicted the end of the world.
About 1,000 times.
Nostradamus.
Believe it or not, there was a model developed by MIT called World 3, and it's based on 5 factors: population increase, agricultural production, resource depletion, industrial output, and pollution. And guess who sponsored the study? The Club of Rome.
Okay.
In 1968. And they published a book called Limits to Growth in 1973. This is where a lot of your people, like the people like with Bill Gates and stuff like that. But yeah. So actually, believe it or not, they did. And it said they came to a similar conclusion that Sir Isaac Newton did in 1704. And based on his calculations, he came to the conclusion that societal collapse will occur in 2060.
Okay.
In 1973, the follow-up, because they looked at his calculations what he used, and he said that societal collapse would occur in 2040, with seeds of that collapse first being observed in the 2020s.
Which we've said 2027 was the year.
They utilize a model called utilize system dynamics, which is a methodology using mathematical modeling techniques used to solve complex issues and problems. And
so when do they say societal collapse? They
so
mean
basically a complete undoing of the current social order.
Really?
That made, when I saw that, when I was looking at that, I picked that up listening to when I was doing research for this topic. I listened to a podcast it was on Computer Predicts the End of the World.
Yeah.
And they talk about this 1973 model that Newton says 2060, MIT said 2040, with basically you start to see it in the 2020s, and I'm going to tell you, I see it. I don't see how we get out of this the way it is now. I just don't. I mean, I hate being negative about that. I really do, because at the end of the day, we all have hope as Christians that, ultimately things will be fine. I'm not saying that our current way we organize ourselves on this planet won't change, because that has changed throughout time. I imagine if you talk to a Roman citizen in 100 AD, you would have never convinced them that the Roman Empire would eventually collapse.
No.
It's not there.
Yeah.
I would venture to say the same is. You talk to an American, probably, America collapse? No way. Would never happen. Just talk to somebody right after World War II.
Yeah. Oh,
how they would view.
Yeah.
And what's transpired since that time. I mean,
so like you said, someone after World War II is like, in about 100 years, this is all gonna
come undone.
It's like there's no way.
And I just kind of I really need to look more into that MIT study.
That's fascinating if that's the case.
But
I know that like this may be too optimistic or too, I don't know, in favor of the study, but like a 20-year gap is like a pretty big range of time. But when you think about it in context of like 1970 something or 19 whatever it was,
73,
73, which was the study, and then 17 whatever, like how far back that is, like a 20-year window kind of feels small in the big picture of things, where it's like,
well, I mean,
that's crazy.
Just look at our situation right now that we're facing. I mean, we are right now. This country is convulsing, and there is a strong move with, we talked about it with the affordability issue. You've got now an avowed democratic socialist that first got elected into a major U.S. city.
Crazy.
You've got
a radical Muslim.
You've got other
socialist.
You've got other people that are now, looking at that, going, you know what, because it taps into what? It taps into fear. Mm-hmm. It taps into that. I can't buy this. I can't buy that. I feel like my life has got no meaning.
If you look in Dearborn, Michigan right now, they have these imams going to the store saying you have a week to get rid of the alcohol, the gaming, all of this stuff that we don't agree with, or we're going to burn your store down.
That's crazy. Well,
it's happening in America.
I've been seeing some of these people that are kind of busted up on these like Christmas tree displays, and they purposely basically start singing or just of disrupting, and this is what happens when you immigration without assimilation is a recipe for disaster.
Yes.
Because all it does is create a balkanization, and there's no incentive for these people to adopt the values of their new homeland, then why are you here? You should have just stayed where you're at.
Especially to get
keep
their
doing
way.
what you're doing. But see, there's a bigger plan there.
Yeah.
But that's what I'm saying. There is a fear.
Yeah.
And it's very prevalent, especially in the younger generations right now, of the American dream is just not, they don't see it.
Yeah.
Well, this is going to be the first generation since George Washington that does not do better than their parents.
Well,
they can't see it.
I guess the question then fundamentally we have to ask ourselves, what is better? And my question has always been, what does that mean that it's better? I would venture to say things are not good. We may be better technologically. You know, we've done a good job of controlling sicknesses and health.
Have we? We've created the sicknesses. We've created the health problems, so we're not any better off.
But
we're eating poison and drinking poison every day.
I think it's also, too, like, the fact that, like, I feel like throughout history, like, I feel like, at least in my lifetime, it feels like every son has been able to make more money than their father in some way. You know what I'm saying?
Well, but I would think as time goes on, that the law becomes it's a kind of a diminishing return.
Yeah.
So I mean, the fact of the matter is, that's what I'm saying. What do you mean by better? If all it is just more materialism,
yeah,
that's not better.
It's more, exactly. That's my argument. Is what is better? I don't know. Maybe what we've done is basically operated that's not sustainable.
Yeah.
You know, houses are cost the way they cost because we want bigger and bigger houses.
Yeah.
People don't want to live in houses that their grandparents lived in. They don't. I mean, we may say it, but the reality is when you go search for a house, you're not looking for that.
Yeah.
You're just not. The vast majority of people aren't. Now, some people have to do it just out of absolute necessity.
Yeah.
But
they want it now. Your grandparents' house, that wasn't their first home. They worked for that. They retired for that. They worked very hard to get that second or third home that was their dream home. Right. Kids today want it now. And they also want it with the brand new Escalade and the brand new BMW. And we're 19, 20, and 21 years old. Mm-hmm. Okay, and we got to have the cathedral ceilings. We got to have the pool. We got to have all of this at 25. That's not how it works. My mom and dad's first home was not the palatial house that they had at the end of their marriage.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay, they worked for that. They built for that. But everybody wants it now.
Yeah.
I got to have it now. I got to have the brand new iPhone. I got to have the brand new computer. I got to have all this the brand new shoes instead of working for it and building something with somebody.
But that's the key right there, with somebody. That's hard for a lot of people.
It's not hard for me. I have somebody. How about you two?
I know.
What about
but
you
what
two?
But what I'm saying is there was a point in time in my life where I was like, I want to settle down and start a family.
Right.
I would like to potentially one day own my own home, and like whether it be by myself or whatever relationship I was in the past, I was like, that's not gonna happen.
Right.
And I was like, okay. I don't want to try and ostracize anyone in particular, but like I know there's a large majority of the younger female population is like, I don't want to have any kids ever. And I'm like, okay, that's cool, but like that's kind of a big deal for me.
Well, but also think about this too. A lot of men don't want relationships right now.
Oh yeah.
Because feminism has come in and said, you don't open the door. You know, don't pay for the meals. Men have been ostracized to where it's not even worth really getting serious in a relationship now. They don't want to do it. So women are going, oh, wait.
Yeah.
So we've used all of these fear tactics to create a societal situation that people really don't want to be together. They really don't want to work towards something. If I don't like you, I'm going to cancel you.
Mm-hmm.
To where there's no fight left in people anymore.
Oh yeah.
Well, I think right now
with a fight coming,
I think society right now wants. I mean, I hate to say it. I think just based on our movies entertainment. I've always said the arts in movies indicate where a culture is.
Oh, yeah.
And right now, the culture wants effeminate men.
Yep.
They do. They do not want the alpha male that existed at one time. That's why you saw talks of toxic masculinity and all that kind of stuff. Society right now wants effeminate men.
Well, that's because we haven't had an enemy at the door.
Well,
okay, you want emasculate men until there's an enemy at the door, and then you want the alpha guy there. Well, that's not how it works. Toxic masculinity is not masculinity. Toxic masculinity is the absence of masculinity. Okay, a true masculine man is not an abuser. That's a weak man. That's a weak man who can't control himself. A masculine man is a provider, a caretaker, a spiritual man, a man who wants the best for his family and knows what to do to get it done. And so when you remove that masculinity, now you have weak, toxic men that, I think any man who has a beard and can't change a tire should be shaven and be required by law to shave every day, because that's bullshit. Okay, these men walking around. There's a great picture, and I wish I'd have known we'd have went this route, with Cary Grant with a 3-piece suit and this gorgeous jacket, and right next to him is this man with a hair bun and these little shorts and these special shoes, and it's going, what happened to men? They're side by side, and we're in that weak man era. This generation, everything we're going through in this country today is because of weak men.
Well, I mean, it is, but I think a lot of men, have been somewhat burned.
Absolutely.
And because the system now, I think, has in an attempt, and this is typically what happens, in an attempt to correct the deficiencies that existed in the past, whether you want to call them deficiencies or not, where, women couldn't vote. For all intents and purposes, the wife was almost the property of the husband, okay? That dynamic, eventually we got to a point where society kind of rejected that, okay? So I would venture to say, Stoney, what you said, I would agree with. But I'd be very curious if you would talk to a man that lived 150 years ago, would he sound like that? I don't know. I really don't. Because you think about it. What was the social upheaval that occurred that changed forever how men and women interact?
All you got to do is look at the Roman Empire. Same thing happened to them. At one time, they're the mass producers of the world. They're the greatest army in the world. And they conquered, and they conquered. And then all of a sudden, they decided to start outsourcing everything. And then all of a sudden, the men got sweet. And we got very deviant. And we got all these special things. And then within 75 years, the empire collapsed. The same thing. Rampant deviance and blood sport. Well, two things that happen at the same time in any civilization destroys the civilization. Okay, we obviously have, with this transgender and the mental problems and things like that, we have the rampant deviance. We can see that. What is our blood sport? Look at our movies and look at our games and look at our TV shows and look at things like that. The first horror movie was The Blob. 3 people died opening night. You never saw The Blob. What now do you have to do in a movie or TV show to get a reaction out of anybody?
You got to lay it all out.
We're so desensitized. That's our blood sport. They had the Colosseums. Every little bitty hick town in Rome had at least a little arena that some guys could shake some swords at each other. That was their blood sport. And then you've conquered so much, everything gets sent to you that you need. Your food, your weapons are built by somebody else. You're not doing it yourself. So all you have to do left is to become deviant. And that's what's happening into America. This is the weak man era of our time.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But I think the culture though that is what the culture wants. I'm not saying it is just as men are not. I mean, I had a friend of mine that I knew, and I had this conversation with, and she basically said that we don't need men anymore.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I was saying earlier. They've convinced us that they don't need us to open doors and buy this and do that.
I wouldn't even say convinced, because we live in a world where they don't.
They don't. I mean, you have a sizable portion of young women today that basically, they don't need you. I can go make sometimes probably more money than you.
Right.
Colleges are graduating now. More women that are going.
And also, like I said, there's a large percentage that are like, I don't want to have kids ever. So at that point, it's like there's no.
So that's what I'm saying. I mean, I get what you're saying, Stoney, and
I think that's intentional because there's one group in America that's outbreeding the Christian 7-1. So it's intentional. They've helped bring this into America, knowing that they could come in and outbreed us.
And what is and about that culture? What is evident about it? What is evident about it?
Which culture? The one doing it?
Yeah.
They don't conquer. They come from inside and destroy it from the inside.
The social dynamics of that culture, what is it?
Yeah.
Men control it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
There is, as a woman, you have no rights. None.
Mm-hmm.
Zilch. So the question is, if they're still operating the way the West worked a couple centuries ago.
Yeah.
Before the idea of Western values. See, a lot of people forget that it's Christianity that actually gave dignity to women.
Yeah.
It sometimes it kind of shocks me.
And freed the slaves.
And all the things that we think of in a positive light started because of this ideal of Christianity. At one time on this planet, it didn't exist that way. And in many cultures, it doesn't exist at all.
This culture we're speaking about still owns slaves.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah. I mean, so that's what I'm saying.
So all of these people that are, we need, really?
Yeah.
Wake up.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Because our fourth turning is coming.
I think we
That's
have.
the name
I hate
of it,
to say
wasn't
it.
it?
Yeah, it's
Okay,
fourth
then.
turning.
I love how we're getting to this point. Like, if you would have asked me at the top of this episode if we would have been getting to this point, I don't think I would have guessed it. I think I was just laughing at that. How it's like, wake up.
Well, it is wake up because this is the end of the
right.
world stuff we're talking about right now. This is huge.
Well,
Because if America goes down, the rest of the world's going to tank.
Well, I think it's not a matter of it goes down. All we have to be is weak.
Mm-hmm.
As I said, we have an unsustainable national debt. I think now it's at $38.5 trillion. The last I saw, we have a crisis of purpose. I think there's internal fights in our country regarding what is the role of America. We hold the reserve currency. God forbid we ever lose that, because I'm going to tell you, that's going to be, we think we have it bad. Wait to that, if that ever happens. And I don't think people really are ready for that.
Yeah.
I truly don't. Well, you're all going to be living in cardboard shacks when that happens, because this idea of the American dream, that goes out the window. Mm-hmm. I mean, it just, we have enjoyed a level of living that most in the world does not have.
Yeah.
Part of that is our result of what happened after World War II and the deals the United States made of making the U.S. dollar the reserve currency.
Yeah.
That's just simply what it was. So we have benefited from basically the most of the world being destroyed between World War I and World War II. Mm-hmm. So, we were the manufacturing power. And that,
of which we are no longer.
That started to change in the 70s, in the 80s. So, but yeah, we have a lot of things, but as I said, it goes back to what we were talking about. If things really got bad, how people would react.
Would you plant your apple tree?
And with that, I want to hear from you guys. What do you guys think? How do you feel about this kind of thing? Do you think we need to wake up? Are we about to hit our fourth turning? Let us know if you have any suggestions for episodes as well. I'm curious to hear what you guys think. We have the email address, Getting Infinite Together, where you can give us some more long-form responses, or we have comment sections on Spotify and on YouTube, where you can give us those little quick responses if you'd like. And until next week, thank you so much for listening. Bye-bye.
Goodbye, everyone, and God bless.
Tonight's conversation took us right to the edge of the world, but not to scare anybody. We went there to understand something deeper about who we really are. Because, as the data shows, the end of the world doesn't magically turn people evil. It doesn't flip a switch and create chaos out of thin air. It simply strips away the noise, the expectations, the consequences, and reveals who we always were. Boomers, your instinct to rebuild order, to stabilize the ground beneath everyone's feet. Gen X, you survive off the grid and skepticism, the quiet realist scanning the horizon to see what still works. Millennials, you immediately start to rebuilding community, forming little circles of hope and structure. And Gen Z, you rewrite the rules entirely, breaking out of the old world like it was a locker room. As for the true danger, it's not a generational thing. It's the disconnected. The people who unplug from everyone and everything. These studies showed those are the ones who become violent, not because the world ends, but because they were all ready to let go long before it did. So maybe the real lesson tonight isn't about the apocalypse at all. Maybe it's this. Who would you choose to be today is exactly who you would be when everything falls away. The world doesn't forge your character, it reveals it. So stay connected, stay grounded, build community, love your people, because whether the world ends tomorrow or keeps spinning for 1,000 more years, the future still belongs to the tribes who stand together. Boomers, Gen X, Millennials, and Gen Z, this was Retrospect. And no matter what the world throws at us, we'll face it together. And please remember, no man ever steps into the same river twice, or it is not the same river, and he is not the same man. Thanks for hanging out with us today. You're the best. Peace.